Hey, do you teach yoga? Have you ever trained to lead yoga classes, to be a yoga therapist? Have you ever owned a yoga studio? Maybe even just wondered what it was like for the women and men up there in front of the room on their mats, leading you through endless Surya Namaskars, down dogs, and pranayamas galore? Well, these are their stories, and mine. I'm Rebecca Sebastian, a 20-year yoga teacher, 10-year yoga therapist, yoga studio owner, and co-founder of a yoga-focused nonprofit. I've done a lot in the yoga world over the last 20 years. Pretty much everything except had a water cooler. You know, a place to share stories, talk about struggles, successes, and find other people who do the same thing that I do. Welcome to Working in Yoga, a podcast and substitute water cooler for yoga folks to connect and build community, to share our unique profession, our challenges, and our journeys with the world.
Hey friends, welcome to Working in Yoga. This week I am continuing conversations again. This time I'm headed back to that teacher training conversation that I had last summer. One of the things that I have seen so much in the yoga studio owner and yoga trainer space is the talk about how $200 and $300 teacher trainings that are entirely online and not taught live are kind of quote unquote ruining the industry. Now that phrase, ruining the industry, always piques my curiosity because as I see it, there are numerous really complex factors in our industry that all collectively contribute to our inability to build sustainable livelihoods for everyone. And while how we train is at kind of the semi-top of my list of issues that I think we need to deal with industry-wide, I don't know if eliminating or frankly just talking shit about all those asynchronous online teacher trainings is really the full reason why our training doesn't pass muster, and that's what's going to fix it. Because to me, it's giving a lot of like goat yoga vibes. Do you remember when we were all really mad about goat yoga like 8 years ago? I mean, okay, so is it kind of gross for a lot of reasons? Yes. Is it the whole problem? Not even close. So I asked someone who has both explored those $300 online teacher trainings, more than one in fact, and also she herself teaches online at the adult level. I figured if anyone could give me some insight to what was really going on here, it'd be her. And Katlyn Greiner delivered in spades, let me tell you. We get into a lot of issues in this online training space and talk about how we often characterize some trainings as superior without really getting our metrics right about why one training might be better than another. Okay, but before we get started, will you please go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast from wherever you're listening? That tells the algorithm to show this podcast to other folks like you. And if there's one thing us yoga folks really love, it is community. Also, I have a free training that you can access in the show notes on hosting lunch and learns. If you're a yoga therapist especially, this is going to be really helpful for you. The live date is September 24th, 2025, and there will be a replay available for a short time after if you're listening to this podcast after that date. So register now, and we are going to get into lunch and learns together. Now let's dive right into my chat with studio owner and college professor, Katlyn Greiner. Hey friends, welcome to Working in Yoga. Okay, this is a continuing conversation from a previous series that I had on the podcast last summer about teacher training programs. And this was like a subject I really wanted to tease out back then, and I couldn't find anybody to come talk to me about it. But you all are lucky I'm good at making new friends, and I'm going to introduce you to my new friend, Katlyn Greiner. Katlyn, will you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Hey there. So I'm Katlyn Greiner. I am co-owner of Home Yoga. We have 2 studios here in Southern California, one in Costa Mesa and the other one in Joshua Tree. And I'm also a college professor. I have been teaching art history in the college sphere for about 10 years now. I primarily teach at the community colleges for the last 6 years. Have been my kind of home base.
Yeah. Okay. So you and I'm just going to get into it. Like, We're going straight there. You and I started this conversation talking about we're both in the same Facebook group for yoga studio owners, and I think somebody in there posted a comment about those $200 yoga teacher training programs and $300 yoga teacher training programs. And like I said a couple things, I always say things that make people mad about that because I really don't like my opinion is that's not the whole problem and I really want to flesh out the whole problem. And then you commented. And so now we're here. So tell me all about it.
Yeah, so I think the comment was something like, "Oh, would you hire someone who took the training?"
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I took it, and yeah, if they came in and demoed and did, I would probably hire them."
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. And then you said that you have some more experience with, we're going to talk about one specific low cost, 100% asynchronous, which means you're not with your teacher friends, like online teacher training program. The typical one you see ads for is called My Vinyasa Practice. They're not the only one, but they're likely the most popular or one of the most popular. They're certainly one of the ones that I see the ads for on Instagram for the most. And,
Constantly.
and you have been in their program. You've been a part of their program.
Yeah, so over COVID, both me and my partner were going crazy, bored out of our minds, and a Black Friday deal came up for my vinyasa flow and or practice, sorry. And I was like, oh, $300, like let's look at it. And then I paid for it, I signed up, and then my partner was like, wait, I want to do one. So we found another 300 hour that he was going to do, and we were just going to compare notes.
Yeah.
And so we started the program. He went completely through and graduated from his. And
Yeah.
I just got the information I needed and took from it. I did not finish the program. I never submitted all my final paperwork. And the way theirs is set up, you don't really get feedback until the very end. So
Okay.
I can't really talk about the feedback aspect of it, but rather than just going through the program. And the good thing about online education, and I teach it in college, is that it is super accessible and you can build up these resources.
Yeah.
And that is the one, like the biggest pro I have to say about my vinyasa is that the amount of resources that they have built up,
Yeah.
catalog of libraries. Like I still go back and I'm like, oh, wait, I really like that yin class. Let me pull that up.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, especially those of us who are creating so much content there in like 2020, 2021, like myself included, most of us have like catalogs of hundreds of hours of yoga classes and trainings and workshops and webinars. And that is a benefit to have access to so much information. So let's talk. Okay, because the Yoga Alliance, I think it was last year, I'm 95% sure it was last year, shifted to say that 100% online still counts as you can be a 200-hour Yoga Alliance registered yoga teacher if you take your class online. And there was no requirement for there to be any synchronous teaching, meaning you're there with the teacher live. Um, how do you feel about that?
I think it's how the courses are set up. This go at your own pace, free flow, kind of complete free flow
Yeah.
module is really hard. And again, I see this not only in taking this training, but also how I taught. Like I've tested out the model where I put my entire class up front and I let the students pace them out themselves. The success rate for that,
Yeah. Yeah.
super
Thumbs
low.
down. Yeah.
And the quality of information, the last time I tried that, I had one student who did the whole class in 2 weeks. And I'm like, if I had a conversation with you about this information, you didn't retain any of it.
Yeah.
So I think there is like a lot of cons to a complete open. Um, and then we have to look at the word asynchronous. Asynchronous does not mean you don't have conversations with your instructor,
Right.
but it can lead itself to that. Over COVID, I also took a business class through the
Yeah.
community college, and the instructor gave thumbs up comments. Like,
Oh, sheesh.
oh, I went ape shit. Like, I was like, I
That's not
actually had to
helpful.
pay for this class, and it was
Yeah.
not cheap for many reasons, but I was like, can you give me feedback? Like, let's have this open dialogue. And she refused to engage with me. And so
Yeah.
the she and her excuse, this is an asynchronous class. I put the work out, you do it.
Okay, so I don't love that for that class. First of all, that's really annoying for that business. Like, I'm annoyed for you. But do we love that for us? Like, as an industry, do we love that for
No.
us?
I think we have to have that like connection. I
Yeah.
mean, part of our what we do is community and connection. So
Yeah.
without that, and then also we're talking about like people working with other people's bodies. And that is very scary when you've never had direct contact with a body.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I've been teaching a very long time, a stupid amount of time to be in this industry. Like, and I remember 15 years ago having students come to my class who I had to fill out their form because they were doing a mail order teacher training. Like, did you ever hear about those? So like you would like send away for like a teacher training in the mail and it would come and you would have to like read the content, do a little like written thing, and then you would have to go to classes and the teachers that you went to their classes with had to sign off on it. So
Kind of
is
like
this
that model, actually.
like honestly, part of that mail order model was that they had to interact with me as a teacher. And at the end, she was very sweet. She's like, would you just like write a little blurb about me as a student because she needed it for her certificate. Like, this is just that, but on the internet, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that kind of training, and then there's people who are coming into a studio training and taking a 200-hour training with a cohort of 5, 6, 10 other people. They're meeting in person for all 200 of those hours. They have, I mean, when I train, my people are up in front of the room teaching the first day. Like, they have live experience from day one, and both of those people have the same certification.
Well, I always go back to this advice we got when I rushed my sorority. And I know that's like
Yeah,
silly
yeah,
tidbit, but like they told us you get what you put into it.
yeah,
And I really think like the students who do the extra work and they
yeah.
do go to classes in person on top of taking the online training and they are seeking that out, they're gonna excel.
Okay, so what do you think when you hear people say the reason why none of us are making any money is because we have $200 teacher training programs online?
Well, that is a conversation that me and my partner have been having since we were working and associated with a community college yoga program, and we've since parted ways.
Yeah,
And we were doing it for free. We were volunteering our time. And we're like, well, what if we run a teacher training at the same price as the community college? Is that worth our hours?
yeah,
And that it's such a tricky, it's like, yes, we want it to be accessible, especially like to people who go to community college. I am a big believer in community college, like
yeah,
cost
yeah.
of it. Or online, you can't make it in, you can't afford studio prices. Like accessibility, yes, but it's definitely not the same thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
that's go ahead. You
well, I
go.
was just
You
like,
go.
what if we had like a different registration for them? Like,
Yeah, like step one, step two. So like there are a couple different thinkers in the industry who have like really this desire to sort of delineate out like steps of our like progression as professionals, right? Like you come in and you're a, entry level yoga instructor, and then you get to be a yoga teacher after you've done so many hours, and then you get to be a yoga, I don't know. Leslie, tell me what it is. These I'm trying to quote Leslie Kaminoff here, like yoga educator, yoga facilitator. There are like steps along the progression, right? That I think that is helpful for us to sort of delineate out somebody's path as professionals, but we also have to stir this in with a pot of the fact that yoga teachers are not paid a lot, yoga studio owners are not paid a lot. The industry as itself, while having a valuation of, between 100 and 250 billion, depending on who you ask, like that money goes in the hands of people who manufacture pants and mats and not into our pockets. And then how do we have this conversation, right? Because if I do the math, I can justify a $300 training based on how much money somebody's going to make as a 300-hour teacher. I don't know if you can justify the $3,000 to $5,000 they invest. You know,
I mean, there is something to be said in investing in quality education. There is a
yeah,
reason that USC costs more than the Cal
yeah,
State system,
yeah,
because you are working with the top of the line professionals in whatever field you are training in.
yep,
And if we look at yoga like that, there is value in that. And maybe keeping that in mind, uh, it's just hard. It's a really hard question.
yeah. I mean, it's hard, and I think it's not. I think we all like to default to like this is the one thing that's wrong with us. Like this is why we can't have nice things. Insert whatever it is, like the $200 teacher training online, or the yoga teacher who only teaches with like weights and doesn't talk about the true meaning of yoga. Like we love to throw stones at the goat yoga people. They're why we can't have nice things. It's not why we can't have nice things. No, like, like especially in the late teens, it was always like the goat yoga and wine yoga people. They were why we weren't making enough money. But I mean, because I can make this argument two ways. We don't make enough money to justify paying more than $200 to $300 for your training. And that's true. Like that is unquestionably, objectively true. However, do we ever make more money if we don't charge more than $200 to $300 for our trainings?
Yeah, and then we can also flip that exact statement. It's like, well, how much is $200 and $300 worth of our time who did
Yeah.
pay 3,000, 5,000, whatever the cost was to get these high level trainings and then are now then giving the trainings.
Yeah.
So what is our hourly rate?
Okay. Did you and your partner ever work it out? I worked out the average hourly rate for how much studio owners specifically make doing teacher trainings, because you also know there's that myth that studios all stay open because of how we're like raking in the bucks with our teacher training programs. We're not. Did you ever do that math?
We have never done that math because all of our teacher trainings, we have limited them to like 2 to 3 people. We like
Yeah.
teeny tiny.
Yeah. So don't. It'll make you sad. But especially like I always tell people, because I'm a trained yoga therapist, right? So I see clients as a yoga therapist, and I'm expensive as a yoga therapist. I'm $150 an hour as a yoga therapist. Like I can do that, which is significantly less work on my end. Like my front load for that work is much less than front loading a teacher training program where I make about $27 an hour. Like, so
That's
really,
about
like
right.
the conversation becomes like, are you passionate about training a new generation of teachers? Like, is this what you really want to do? Is help steward the next generation?
And that's a conversation you could have with an elementary school teacher as well, right? Like
Yeah,
they go home and they still work after hours that they're not necessarily paid for in their hourly or salary rate.
yeah.
And so I
You
think
can
it's
make.
like educators, man. This
I
is
was gonna say
what we
a
chose.
community college teacher. You could make that argument for too.
Yeah. So I try
Okay,
not to look at it hourly in any of my jobs.
okay. So tell me, because you work in the community college scene, and you all were involved in a yoga teacher training program through a community college. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. So that is like this is still a little fresh because it just happened.
Yeah.
We had been partnered with a local community college for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And how our partnership worked is we offered their students a discounted rate to come in to take classes. Very few took us up on that offer. And then in the spring, right before they were about to graduate, so how the community college, at least here, the few that I know, they start in the fall. They take 2 or 3 classes fall and then 2 or 3 classes spring, and then they graduate. So it's
Yep.
a one school cycle season.
Okay. Okay.
And in the spring, we came in, we talked again to the students, and then we told them about this mentorship program where they came into our studio, got a free unlimited membership, and they had to do, I think it was like 4 or 6 hours of in-studio work. And part of that
Okay.
was like after class sitting with us and us mentoring them or be like, okay, teach us this one little sequence and
Yeah.
helping them. And then at the end, when they graduated, they had the option to continue that program through the summer, in return, teaching a karma class.
Okay.
And we had a lot of successes and a lot of failure with it.
Yeah.
We ended up parting ways because the last group we had couldn't even teach a sun salutation,
Oh, wow.
and they were 2 months away from graduating.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's no good.
Yeah. And we were like, and like they didn't read the sutras, they didn't read the Gita, they didn't read any textbook. Actually, they didn't have a textbook. They had like a workbook that had like a chapter in it.
So who was teaching the class at the community college?
They have a full-time professor that is running their yoga program.
I have so many questions
I
now.
thought you might be more interested in this because yeah,
The fuck you say? What? So tell me
yeah.
everything.
So we were like, no, you guys are not doing this right, or like, no, that's not like appropriate to teach, at least at our studio. Like you
Yeah.
can't say those things or you can't do that for us. And it got misinterpreted back to her that we were talking shit about her program, which I guess in a way we kind of were. Like, we're like, you don't have a textbook? Like, yo, you need to be reading these books. Like, you can't
Yeah.
do that salutation. You need to know that before you graduate. So, like, in a way, like, we were a little harsh, I think. And she was just like, I want nothing to do with you guys. And we're like, okay, we were doing this completely for free volunteer time.
So they just had like a workbook, you said.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, it was a decent sized manual.
so to like something that would qualify for the Yoga Alliance, you have to have a 200-page manual for your teacher training programs for the Yoga Alliance. So something that qualifies for that. But like I've never met a teacher training program that did not have a stack of extras. Like this is where we start, but also, you're reading Satchidananda and you're reading, Donna Farhi and you're reading, Gary Krause, you're reading whomever
Yeah. No,
with
it was
it.
just like 2 page pieces in the manual, which again is definitely community college style. Like my class, I give them one article a week to read, and then we work that into the other information. But it's like a short, like smart history article or an article from Met, like very easy to read. So for community college standards, it passes
Sure.
totally. It hits all of like the current SLOs and things like that. For becoming an actual yoga teacher, I would not hire any student out of that program currently.
I mean, okay, so I'm just doing the math in my brain here. So correct me if I'm wrong, like one college class is usually how many credit hours? 15?
Um, yeah, it's usually 3 units is 36 hours in class and then homework hours.
So they're getting about 90 hours of actual teacher training. Is that, if my math is mathing correct?
Don't ask
45
me to
per.
do math. I'm a history professor.
I mean, so if you're doing 15, 30, 45 the fall semester, and you do 45 in the spring semester, 45 hours, that's 90 hours. Even if you had them do extra hours
think
outside of the class.
I think I actually did the math and it came out to be like 120
Okay,
hours,
so
something like that.
yeah,
And then they had to do like their observations offsite.
80 hours worth though.
Yeah, it definitely was not the math was not mathing up because I was very
No.
frustrated when we ended this. And I was like, I'm going to report them to Yoga Alliance. Like, I was so mad
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
because of how it went down. And yeah, I was looking at the math and it definitely was not adding up. And I don't know the ins and outs of the program. I was just helping them with the mentorship stuff. Um, so maybe they're doing like homework hours sometimes count. Maybe they're 4 unit classes and not 3 or 1. I mean, usually kinesiology classes are only a 1 unit class. Um,
Yeah, I just that it surprises me in the way that I know many people that don't necessarily pay the Yoga Alliance for their, Yoga Alliance certified little stamp on their teacher training programs.
yeah, we gave
But
that up.
yeah, and like I think so many of us have like shifted away from that, going like that model actually isn't making us better as professionals, which I think is, you know, that can be a deeper conversation we can get into. But we're all still aligning pretty much with their credentials. We're all still rolling out 200 hours at least of some kind. Like the reason why people are separating from the Yoga Alliance isn't because we're like, man, that's too much. Most of us are like, that's not nearly enough.
Yeah. And then there's no check-in. So it could have started as a really good program
Yeah.
and deteriorate over time.
Yeah. Okay, so what does this say about our training as a whole? Like, what does it say about the word cheap in our training? Because cheap can mean money, cheap can mean shitty education. Like, how,
Those
what?
things do not have to be tied together. You can
No.
really quality, and like I would say, like my vinyasa practice had a lot of quality aspects to it. The 300 my husband did over COVID had a lot of like I loved his program. Like if I was to go back, I would totally take it.
Yeah.
Great feedback, great videos, really like all these resources between the two of them there. Like there's a lot of quality,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
going back to like if take you get what you take out of it or put into it. So if
Yeah.
you go to all the reading forums and you do the movie nights and you do the live practices with everyone, you can easily become a quality teacher.
Yeah.
And then for the exact same price, you can go to this community college in person and not come out a quality teacher.
Mm. Ooh, nice. I love this conversation because really, so then the question becomes, what is our standard? Is the standard, is the thing that's important to us the quality of the education that we're giving the students, or is the thing that's important to us how much money we are or are not making as a result of these training programs? You know?
Well, in my personal ethics, it's like quality always comes
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
always. Then money. You have to have the money
Yeah.
to provide quality. So they're definitely like tied. Like
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things I love seeing that I've seen a lot in that group that we're both in, and like I started to investigate a little bit more about, and I've had Leslie Perlman on this podcast before. Gina Ward is on this series. Gina's coming back to talk about like studio owners and teacher training. These are people who really like, they have a passion for training people. And while Leslie and Gina both have studios, their gig is training people. And I almost want to put them in like a special little bubble of like, these are the people who are stewarding our future. And the rest of us are running businesses or, whatever it is that we feel like we're going to do. Maybe, I know somebody who runs a studio and she's like, I just love group classes. I'm going to teach 11 group classes a week until I die. You figure out what your thing is that you're doing in there. And that like training to me feels like it's separate. Like I want that to be really sacred for us.
yeah, it could also be I mean, it is a whole industry within itself because now we are seeing these
Yep.
organizations pop up that are solely focused on that. And if that's the case, then like that separation between yoga, like there should be some board that maybe is not also doing the teachers and our insurance, but yeah.
I'm tapping my nose for the listeners. I'm tapping my nose. I didn't even tell her to say this. You guys keep going.
It just seems like we're all lumped in. And going back to the myth, right, that we make
Yeah.
all of our money in teacher trainings. It, it, maybe some people do, like Gina,
Yeah.
like she makes,
Yeah.
but she's a trainer, like that's her shift.
Yeah. I also feel like that is a 2014 story, right? So in 2014, 2015, 2016, when we were like so hot and the industry exploded. And I remember at that time, even I live in Iowa, right? Like nothing exciting is really happening here. And even at that time, it was like a new studio on every block. You know, you'd be one a year, one every 6 months was popping up. Like we were making a ton of money then. And sure, so maybe that was the case. I knew people who were running 20, 30 people through teacher training programs. Like, yeah, that's lucrative, but that's not our today reality.
Well, I mean, I don't know the statistics on the online program, but I know the community colleges have 20, 25 students running through them.
Do they really for their 120 hours of time?
Yeah, I just recently met the lead instructor at the college I actually work at, and he
Yeah.
just started. This is his first cohort moving through, and it was it's very interesting. Like just yeah, I don't know. I'm very confused by it myself because they hit SLOs, but I don't know if they're hitting the other standards. And then we asked, like, where are these standards coming from? Is it personal? Like a lot of when we were recently hiring, I was on the Facebook group and I was like, how do you guys find people? And they're like, oh, we hire from within from our teacher training programs. Well, if that's
They
the
do.
goal, then it's just we don't care about any outside noise. We just are
Yeah.
internal.
Is that what everybody said?
A
That they
lot
have?
of people.
Okay. I have such an objection to that.
I mean, some people don't like a lot of students talk or studio owners are talking about like their branding and how every class is set like their
Sure.
class, where I personally don't want a bunch of minions. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to take my own class most of the time.
Yeah, it almost feels like there's two subsets within studio culture, right? Like, so the people who are branded out for their own classes are really competing more with the very highly branded places of like Core Power and Yoga Six and all those sort of like Moksha, whatever the corporate yoga studios are, right? And that's that model. And then there's sort of like the quirky sort of homespun sweet and charming yoga studios. That's what I run. Like I'm certainly not, a big branded thing. And I agree with you. Like I purposely hire for diversity in people and classes. Like it is to me a benefit that my members can get a whole lot of different things in one space.
Yeah,
And then how do you do that if everybody comes from the same teacher training program?
right?
Yeah.
So then the conversation is like, well, then I need to make sure that the teacher training 5 miles down the street from me is providing quality instructors because I need to be able to hire them.
Right. Yeah. Because that's also a question of like, let's say you're a gentle, accessible yoga studio and the only teacher trainings in town are Ashtanga yoga studios. Like then that becomes a mismatch. And that was my town for years. The teacher trainings that were being run were either there was one person who studied directly with Iyengar and then two people who were in the Ashtanga system, two different schools that were in the Ashtanga system. So here I come, my like yoga therapy self going, well, none of that is really what I do. It was I was often finding teachers who were moving into town who trained elsewhere.
Hmm.
How do you find your teachers?
Not well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a problem.
Actually, our most successful teachers have been practitioners here.
Okay,
They've done their training elsewhere. They've met the community. They already know everyone's name. Again, we are very small. We
sure.
limit classes to 12 people.
Yeah,
So we're a
same.
tiny little community.
Yeah.
It's the people who come in and they ask us to hire them.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love that. Isn't that the most
They're
charming
like,
in yoga
can I
thing?
sub for you?
Yeah.
And we're like,
Yeah.
okay. And then they sub a couple of times and we get good feedback. And then we're like, hey, do you want to have a class on the schedule? But recently we lost two of our longtime teachers to moving and married and life.
Yeah. Life.
It was such a bummer because they were amazing and consistent. And we're like, ugh, we have to hire now.
So, how do we train to have these like amazing, wonderful, wholesome humans who are coming into our spaces? Like, is this a challenge we can address through our training, or are we just going to throw a bunch of information and shit at people and just hope for the best? Which is kind of what we're doing now.
Yeah. Well, and then that feeds into the online conversation, right? Like they have all these great
Yep. Yep.
resources coming in. Like you can get a great education if you go through every single module, you take notes, you do every video practice, you do the extra readings.
Yeah.
But like, how do we as owners encourage that?
Yeah. And there is like sort of that argument of you can't teach somebody to bake a cake in the library. Like you have to take them to a kitchen and you give them all the tools and you're like, go bake it. If it tastes like shit, you put too much salt in there. Like there is a lived component to what we do that is difficult to replicate in an online training, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And so I have to foster that culture. And I think just providing like a good studio culture in general that people want to be around
Yeah.
pulls in those good hires.
Yeah. Let's flip that conversation in reverse though. Okay, so we're talking about there is a skill set to having somebody who's able to see people in person. I also feel very strongly that in 2025 teacher trainings have to have a component of how to teach online. How do you feel about that? Cuz that's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, that's flipping the script for sure. And that's funny that you say that. So I was very, and I still am very resistant to recording my lectures, like even for my
Yeah.
online classes.
Yeah.
Just in the past 2 years, I've started adding video content where I would just hold Zoom meetings and I have a lot of digital content. And finally, I got the feedback from one of my chairs. It's like, you need to have your face, like you're personable, you need to have your face there. And I'm like, okay. And like really reluctantly, I am filming content. And I wish someone would have told me that previously, like
Yeah.
the importance of it and teach me how to do it. Like no one sat me down and was like, hey, if you make a fart joke, it's totally okay. Like
Yeah.
just like having the videos and yeah, and like lighting. Like no one teaches lighting.
Right. Or how to be mic'd well. Or the fact that if you are how to demo, I mean, from like the yoga space. So, like, I have a whole section in my teacher training that is how to teach online, and we do teaching in person. And then, so my training set up as a hybrid. So we meet online twice a month too. And in those online meetings, they're teaching online to each other as well. And it is just, still getting over the awkwardness of like, okay, so I need everybody to do a twist. And then you do the twist. If you're demoing, you're not facing the camera anymore. Like nobody can see what you're doing. And how are you adjusting so that your students can see you in an online space? How are you getting feedback from people if, because this is always what happens, friends, is that somebody is taking your class and the camera is like at their knees or or it's like way up there because everybody started out standing and then you're like, okay, so lay down, and you lay down and it's just everybody's rooms because people are on the floor and you can't see them. Like that's a different teaching skill set to have.
Yeah. And I mean, some of these YouTubers out there that are doing it, I'm like, you guys are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they have a whole team behind you. I'm assuming, you know, the person I always reference is yoga with Adrienne, and, just because she's our most popular one, but there are plenty of people out there. She's also funny. But like, I'm sure she has like a whole team of people who are like, A, making sure that the camera angles are correct, and B, making sure that she's lit well, and C, there's somebody behind there going, okay, mic check, 1, 2, 3. And if you put your chin down, that's going to rub against your hair. So don't do that. Like that kind of stuff that we are not training people to know as teachers?
Yeah, I mean, it is so above my head. Like I am not tech savvy whatsoever. Like I have a Mac and that is my thing. Like but we have a friend who used to use the studio to film her YouTube videos, and her husband's an audio engineer. Like,
Yeah.
and he specializes in YouTube videos. Like,
Oh, oh, wow.
so it was like a perfect mesh for
Yeah.
like, and their videos are perfect.
So for modern 2025 trainings, do you feel like we need to have some of that?
I'm not going to add it into my trainings. It would be like getting, I don't know, doctor information from Google. Like,
Did my vinyasa practice have any of that in theirs? Surely. They're an
um,
online training.
they had the business of yoga section. I don't think so because it was just switching over. It was very early in the stage of COVID, and they did revamp a lot of their material. I think I got an email about a year ago. So maybe
Okay.
it's added in there. I tried to log on before just so I could see, and I didn't
Yeah.
quite click through everything. But it would be interesting if that is added because it is another way to add revenue into these really low paying jobs.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pro and con this out. So, what do we think our pros are for online teaching and online training? Like, what do you feel is great about it?
Cost,
Yes.
resources, and
Yes.
having I still get to access those resources 3, 4 years later.
Which is awesome.
Heck yes. And then from an instructor point of view, is that once you have it set up, it's very low time. Like you
Yeah.
have to give a lot. Although like giving a more like feedback and stuff like that is always nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's like the teacher grading papers at the end of the semester.
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just did that, like last week. So there is like this sense of like ease once you have it set up that you can just roll with it. So I think there are positives for both students and instructors or owners.
Yeah. What about the negatives? What do we see as like a total downfall here?
The LMS systems that they're using do not allow for constant feedback and constant checkups.
Okay. So define your terms, LMS systems.
Learning management systems. So
Okay.
the big one is Canvas. Every
Yes.
college pretty much uses Canvas.
Yes.
And the way you
Yes.
submit assignments has a place for feedback. You can do video feedback, audio feedback, written feedback. There's a lot of ways to have a constant dialogue between instructor and students. From the
Yep.
two online programs that I've seen, there's not that constant dialogue, weekly check-ins or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to seek it out.
Do you think so? From a college professor standpoint, I'm going to ask you to put that on the hat on for a second. From that standpoint, you're treating those students who you're seeing online with the same amount of care as you would the people that you see in person.
Yeah, we call it RSI, hours.
Okay.
Don't ask me what that stands for, 'cause,
Okay.
yeah, I can't remember what it stands for.
Yeah.
Something student interactions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we actually have to show that we have that much time each week or each semester with our
Mm,
students,
yeah.
even in an asynchronous class.
So we are not doing that in the yoga space at all.
Yeah, that's missing.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm like writing that down right now because that's a really like I feel like that's actually something that we can take out of this as like a potential added to the solution of the problem of the differentiation between online and in-person teaching is that if the online teaching has the expectation of that sort of like student interaction being the same, whether you're online or in person, I think that would make all of us more comfortable, don't you?
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah, I mean, but you just couldn't sell that for $300.
You know, though, that's what a community college class goes for.
I mean, that's fair, but the teachers get guaranteed a pay, right? I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
I mean, I'm trying to think how this would work because there are ways I think that it could work in. And again, well, actually, I have a question for you because you
Okay.
are more embedded in the community. Are there asynchronous programs that are not do it yourself? Like there's set times.
So I do know of a few asynchronous programs that are dripped. The course is dripped out over the course over like, each week you're hitting one module or another module. I don't know anyone who does that who doesn't also have a live component, though. So
Okay.
I have never seen something where the content is dripped. And so you're expected to, because when I think we were all thinking about how we were going to train online in like 2021, right? And so when I was thinking through that, I was going, okay, so that's what I would want to do with drip content. So you have something that comes out and then they have to go through it and take a quiz of some kind and pass it to like make sure there was content absorption and like you have some sort of base of like you understand this concept before I introduce you to the next concept.
Mhm.
Um, to me, that was like the way to guarantee some sort of quality in education. But
Yeah.
I've never met anybody who did that that also didn't say we have to be online Fridays from 11 to 1 p.m. or something like that also.
So my college asynchronous classes run module, and
Okay.
we have like a start date and an end date, and each week we look at one specific piece of content, and there's these check-in assignments throughout. And yeah,
Yeah.
you can go back and do late work or whatever, but there is like a start date and an end date that we have to reach, and we never see each other in person.
Is
So,
there any live component to it at all? No.
no, one school I am required office hours, so I do have office
Sure.
hours. And if students ever wanted to Zoom in with me, I would be more than happy, but most students don't take me up on the offer.
Yeah. Do you like teaching that way?
It's easy because my class is set up. I mean, it,
Yeah.
it kind of flows. I'm an in-person teacher mostly. Like I love being on ground.
Yeah.
I love the smell of books and old
Same.
classrooms from the 70s and
Yeah. The
having that
radiators that are
interaction.
dangerous. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like to go to the office and say hi to everyone. Like that's just who I am as a teacher.
Yeah.
But I don't mind these online, how they're set up, and I know exactly how many hours I'm putting in every week.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to quantify my paycheck.
So then so in those courses, when you're teaching those through the community college, what is your expectation as a teacher for how many hours a week you're putting in with some sort of student feedback?
It depends on the school. I definitely have one school where it is required, I think it's 8 hours of RSI a week
That's a lot
for the entire course, like for
for the
all the
entire course.
students.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not 8 hours each student.
Okay. Well, okay. So how many students are in your course?
I think it's capped at 25.
Hold on. So I'm doing math live on a podcast.
Watch out, everyone. Calculators out.
So that's like 20 solid minutes of feedback per student per week. That's like a significant amount of time. One would imagine that's way more time than anybody's getting in the entire course of feedback if you're taking a 200-hour teacher training online and you have to submit feedback at the end. Like,
But yes, I absolutely, and I can quantify that time because I'm not building out my course anymore. My
right.
course is set. So my
Yeah.
pay is going to that feedback. That's what I'm being
Yeah.
actually paid for.
Yeah. So did you get paid to set up the course as well, like as a separate payment
No.
structure? No.
But one community college, and there's 5 other lawsuits that are happening in California right now,
Yeah.
did we Long Beach City won, and they have to pay us for any time outside of the classroom now.
Well, yay. I love that for you
Yeah,
all.
it's a big win.
It's one of those things that I think is very fascinating. I love talking with people who are in higher education because every time I make arguments specifically about yoga therapists having paid, so much money in their yoga therapy education to come away with a $13,000 a year job, the argument that somebody comes back to me with is, but there's also no guarantee you get paid in higher education. And I'm always like, I don't think that's a valid argument when you say, well, this toxic system also does it that way. That just means I also feel sorry for you and me.
Yeah, I think the funny joke in Egyptology is that we're actually in a pyramid scheme.
Is it a pyramid scheme? Because sometimes I feel like what we do is.
Well, that's the joke that like every like once a year, every 6 months, someone sends me that meme on Instagram that these
Yeah.
Egyptologists are in an actual pyramid scheme. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that.
I mean, that's kind of fascinating, though, to think about it, which is honestly one of the answers to that challenge is a $200 online training.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like it's difficult for me to throw stones at those cheap trainings online. It really is, because I don't think that's the whole problem. I don't even think that's half the problem.
And again, if you can come out of an online training, you did all the readings and the extra work, and you went and practiced every single day, and you taught
Yeah.
your friends and your family, and you interview and you get the job, then awesome. Like you did the work.
Yeah. And it also doesn't mean you're inherently a worse teacher because of it either.
No, I mean, looking at the programs, like maybe not the mom and pop that just set it up and doesn't have all the resources.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the right program. Uh,
Yeah.
but these big ones that have it built out, I think there is room for that in our sphere.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Caitlin, tell everybody where to find you. If they
Oh,
want to go follow you around, if they want to go see what you're doing in the world.
me, you can find me at Katie with 2 E's, the Great at Instagram.
Do I
Because
follow you online? That's great. Katie with
my
two
personal
E's.
one is much better than my studio one. I'm way more entertaining.
Perfect. I love this conversation. It went places that I didn't expect. And I really love that, because this is what I want. Like, yoga lines, if you're listening, and by the way, I know you're listening because sometimes I hear from you. I need you to require some sort of student feedback for your online teacher training programs.
RSI hours for the win.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Caitlin. Here are our key takeaways. First, what is your perception about the difference between trainings that are totally asynchronous and online and those that are taught in person? Do you feel like those teachers who do a $300 yoga teacher training online are somehow less than to those of us who trained in person? Next, let's talk about pacing. One of the things Caitlin points out is there is a huge difference between courses online that are paced or dripped out and courses that are info dumped all at once. So there's something to this idea that we need to pace or drip out the content for our students in order to encourage them to absorb and embody the information more fully. Next, feedback is key to online teaching. If an online course has feedback integrated into the model, this builds both student-teacher relationship and is a way to ensure that very absorption of the material. Even if it isn't live feedback, the ability to have some during online training, I do think is crucial. Are we even checking this? Is someone at the Yoga Alliance, will you tell me what your policy is around this? I would really love to know. Next, we don't talk about the accessibility of the financial cost of teacher trainings enough. If we're looking for financial accessibility, eliminating those low-cost training options would be a disservice to us as a whole, as an industry. Okay, next, mentorship matters. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a program where you could train online for a reasonable cost and get paired up with a mentor in your local community who could guide you through the first few years of teaching? The mentor would get paid, obviously, but instead of having to build curriculum around someone else's standards, they could be building lessons around what you as a new teacher really need to understand and improve upon. That, my friends, would be rad as hell. And it's not my idea, it's Theo Wildcroft's. I think it's a brilliant one. Next, quality training and high cost training are not always the same thing. Can we build out some other metrics to add to our idea of what good even is as far as trainings are concerned? What would your top metrics be? The ability to teach a skillful class maybe, or student engagement, or business acumen? Let me know what you think they would be for you. I think we're conflating this idea of a high monetary value with high educational content. As Katlyn mentioned, you get out of a training or learning experience what you put into it. And that, my friends, is a very different metric to look at versus if someone just trained in person or not. Next, we do not make all of our money in teacher trainings at studios. I know I've said it before, last week on the podcast, in fact. But when you break down the hours worked versus the money earned, for most, teacher training is a labor of love or a necessity because you need new teachers at your studio. And finally, there is a tension between the desire to provide diverse experiences and the need to keep your classes at your studio branded and cohesive. I feel this so deeply, and it is part of the inspiration for my upcoming series on the podcast about creativity in the yoga teaching space. The brand cohesiveness is important from a business perspective, but our job is inherently a creative one. So how do we deal with this tension? And I think that's key to building a skillful yoga teaching and business path. Okay, next week on the podcast, I have Anjali Rao coming on to talk about her new book, and I just love her, and I'm so very excited to have this conversation with y'all. Until then, please know that I'm so grateful you're here listening with me. Let's get back to work, and I will catch you around the water cooler next time.